All right, hey guys, we're on live air for the third episode of Keeping It Real. Last episode we had Greg Harrelson, going over how to get more business from content marketing your email. This episode we got Tom Nickley. He's an Orlando real estate agent. It's only his first year in the business. He started real estate last year, the fourth quarter of business, and last year. I met Tom. He was in one of our Facebook groups, the Real Geeks Facebook group, and he posted, hey, here's what's happening. And I'm going to read what he actually said was happening. Hey, here's what's happening. I just started real estate. It's been 7 weeks since I got going. And in the first 7 weeks, I put 4 into escrow, 1 closed, took 2 listings, and was working with 12 buyers. And all I did was what Jeff told me to do. I had never met Tom. So that, obviously I'm the phone guy and I want to talk to everybody. I love talking to customers and other people. So that prompted me to go call Tom and find out exactly what he's doing. I had a good idea, but we're going to find out exactly what he was doing and what I had told him to do, even though I had never spoke to him. He actually watched a training webinar we did on best practices on lead follow-up. So he's going to explain what he did there. And so he started the fourth quarter of last year, and I'm really excited about having Tom on the phone because he's a brand new agent. It's one thing having Greg Harrelson or other big super producers that have been in the business for 20 years doing these mega numbers. Tom, his first year, is going to do 60 transactions or more. I think he's actually personally going to do more. Here's what he's done year to date, 2014. He's already closed through the end of June. He's closed 30 transactions. He's currently got 6 in escrows, 6 in escrow, and he's taken 10 listings. All right, all working online lead generation. And Tom's person, a couple people said, is Tom a team leader? He's a solo agent, but he's been doing so well at prospecting. He's had to bring on a buyer's agent to help him work some of that. So I'm going to give you those personal numbers year to date. Okay, so Tom personally has closed 19 transactions year to date that he's personally worked himself. He's got 4 in escrow. His buyer's agent year to date's closed 11 transactions and 2 escrows. But here's the deal. He's bringing in the business and handing it off to his buyer's agent. He's not just having his buyer's agent prospecting. He's obviously going to teach him how to do that. We're going to go through that. But it's Tom's generating all the business, and he brought somebody in to help him. So he is not taking the credit of somebody else's hard work. Somebody else is working hard on his team and helping him grow his business, but he's not sitting back and taking the glory of somebody else's hard work. I don't know. I'm just kind of pumped about this because Tom is a hard-working agent. He kind of reminds me of when I first started, but he's actually kicking my ass. I only did 33 transactions my first year, and he's already done that in the first 6 months. So, you got to be applauded. Sorry, Tom, but you're awesome, dude. I love it. Anyway, and of course, Frank Klesitz of Viral Marketing is my co-host, and these couldn't be put on if it wasn't for Frank. So I'm going to let Frank take over, talk about whatever he has to, and then we're going to dive in deep and introduce Tom Nickley, because I'm excited, Tom. You're awesome, man.
Thanks, cool. Man. Thanks, Jeff. We'll get here started. We got some good questions that we're going to prepared for you that were submitted. Just one thing, if you go to keepingitreal.com, we got a little landing page set up, and on there you'll see the replays of the previous events, and there's also an email opt-in. So if you want to make sure you get an email notification of the new events that show up, just put your email address in, and you'll only get those email notifications. And but with that, let's get started. So Tom, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
All right, man. So tell us a little bit about, and we wrote this in the email, is that you do have a sales background.
Sure.
So why don't you tell us about the background that you come from and maybe how that related to you being successful in real estate?
It's kind of funny because I went to college, graduated in 2001, and my intention was to get into real estate right out of college. Actually took some courses as a minor, and when I was thinking about which direction I wanted to go, I read an article or a advertisement in the newspaper for a wine brokerage. And I thought, man, this sounds great, right out of college, alcohol industry, way to get my feet wet, and I figured it'd be a smooth transition. And, my goal was just to kind of get in it and get some work experience. Joined a company, small wine brokerage dealing with boutique wines in 2001, and the infrastructure or the business model of the company was very interesting because they didn't. It wasn't a wholesaler. They weren't going to restaurants and bars and grocery stores. It was selling to individuals.
It was direct sales over the phone. You were making what, 300 cold calls a day selling wine?
Listen, man, it was like manufacturer directories, and you would just go. It was literally opening a phone book and calling down the list.
You were selling people cold wine.
Listen, wines they had never heard of, and it was just the story, man. They had never tasted it, never heard of it. They never talked to me. It was like the intro was so cheesy. Like, we got referred to you as somebody who enjoyed great wine. I just wanted to give you a call and find out what you're enjoying. And these are attorneys at their office. So talk about being in the trenches right out the gate.
And how long did you do that for, making cold calls all day trying to sell wine?
10 years. I mean, it was starting out, you had no client file. I mean, you had to build it from nothing, and you know, anytime you get a client, it was your client to develop and grow. And I mean, we had clients that would buy 6, 7, 10, 15 times a year, but that was just up to you to develop them. So, I mean, you'd started from scratch. I'd say the first year, man, I mean, I was making 300 plus phone calls every single day, in and out, man, just getting hung up on and I
think that's interesting where, you know, for most in real estate, you may not have the enjoyment of coming from a direct sales background where you have. Sure. So how has that helped you? So let's talk about your decision to get into real estate. Sure. Why did you go into real estate, and how do you see that training helping you at least from?
Well, I'll tell you, man. It was kind of a natural transition to real estate because even all the years, I became a sales manager and opened several offices for the company on the East Coast, and then my job was to hire and train other agents. So the bigger the company got, the more successful I was in the company, the busier I was. I was never around my family, man. I was traveling 3 or 4 weeks a year, and we started having more kids, and I came to a realization that I was doing all this work, developing all this business for the company, but I was making money for somebody else. You know, they were paying me handsomely, but I was making money, and I figured, man, I could do this for myself in the real estate industry, right? And I had an inkling probably 2006, 2007. Should I make the change? I'm glad I didn't in 2006, 2007. But I figured eventually it came to the point, Frank, where I was working way too hard to make money for somebody else.
Yeah, your inner entrepreneur came out saying I could do this on my own.
Sure, and so real estate was really like an easy, obvious transition to me. I mean, I knew nothing about it. I knew absolutely nothing, but I knew that if I put the same work and mentality and mindset and drive and desire into houses, I mean, my offices were selling $20 million a year of wine, one case at a time, one phone call at a time. And
so when you went into real estate, you know, where was the first place you turned to like get some guidance on how do I go about doing this to get listings or buyers? Like what was the very first thing you did after you decided I'm going in to sell real estate?
Man, I am a information and research junkie. Like I will get online, and when I get my mindset to something, I just look and look and look and watch videos on YouTube, and I try to steal from people who know what they're doing. You know, I find the people that know what they're doing and steal their ideas, right? And so I did a lot of stuff online, but started with Keller Williams, and the first month did their training program. They've got like a month-long training that really kind of just teaches you the basics of the industry, from a little bit of contracts, a little bit on listings, a little bit on this. And I figured I'd get just enough where I could at least talk about real estate and act like I know what I'm talking about. That was kind of the first thing, and then after I got out of that class, I thought, where do I go now? What do I do?
You got to get leads. You got to get clients.
Right. So it's funny. So the first thing I did is I got. I'm sure that a lot of people know about a program called Moho Sells. Essentially, I was able to go into different neighborhoods, kind of do a parameter search, and pull all the phone numbers from that neighborhood. And originally, my goal was I'm just going to cold call, right? And so I chose the neighborhood across the street from my office because I figured, listen.
You wouldn't get a dialer. You went to Mojo Cells, MOJOSCLLS.com. You bought their triple line dialer and dialed 3 lines at once, just called around neighborhoods trying to find someone who wants to sell.
Sure, and didn't really have the confidence to do the FSBOs or expires because I didn't know what to say or I didn't know enough about real estate, so I just figured I'll cold call. So
what did you say to them right off the bat? What did you say for the cold calls when you started calling around neighborhoods?
I literally just called and said, hey, listen, this is Tom Nickley with Keller Williams. I know this is going to sound strange, but I wanted to call and ask you a big favor. Listen, we've got lots of I'm working with a lot of buyers that are really interested in houses in this neighborhood. There's just not enough houses for sale. So who do you happen to know that has talked about selling their house in the neighborhood? And everybody would say no, not me. And so my next guess was, how about you? Did you have you thought about putting your house? And it's funny, man. First day, first phone call, I got a lady that said, well, as a matter of fact, first phone call right out of the gate.
That's great.
So me not knowing, I just run to her house right away. Right? It wasn't qualified. It wasn't nothing. But just so did that for a couple days. And then I thought,
before you go on, because some may want to actually execute on that as the very first strategy to model you, where'd you get your phone numbers?
Actually, Moho Sales has this really cool program. Man, it's called Neighborhood Search, and it's like $20 a month. And you can go right in, and it's a map, right? And you can draw a parameter around the neighborhood that you want to search. It will pull all the records from that neighborhood, and it will drop them in a call list for you of all the names and numbers.
So how many dials would you say a day, and how many contacts are you making a day from day one?
Well, the first day I made one because the first lady I called said she was thinking about something else.
That's a good conversion rate.
Here's the crazy thing. Day 2, I get on the phone. Swear to God, 5th or 6th phone call, I get somebody else, same neighborhood down the street, that goes, well, I was thinking about selling, which I actually just listed that guy last week, and I said I was thinking about selling. So I was making, I was averaging 2 to 3 hours a day, and I'd say 300 to 400 dials, because I'd get a lot of people on the phone and have conversations with them, but I only did that for about a week. Actually.
Okay. And then what did you do? So what's next?
So me, the genius that I am, I started thinking, what can I do? How can I get myself in front of the most possible people that I can that have some type of interest in real estate, that I can also use these people to leverage myself in the future, right? I wasn't just looking at what I can do now, but how can I get myself in front of a lot of people that I can use to help grow my business? So I kind of did things backwards, man. I ultimately made the decision to start doing Google AdWords, essentially, pay-per-click. Got a website through Real Geeks after lots and lots and lots of research. Decided to go with Real Geeks, and kind of took a leap of faith, man. And my thought process on that was, if I can get myself in front of a lot of people that have some type of interest in real estate, if they're on Google looking for homes for sale in Orlando, there's something there that's of interest.
Well, let me go a little deeper on that. There's actually a question that I've selected here. Okay. The question is, what actually is your pay-per-click strategy when you started? How did you actually drive the traffic to your site right from the beginning?
Well, the pay-per-click strategy right from the beginning, actually, Real Geeks has a program, a lead generation division called Real Leads, where they manage the AdWords and they do all the work for you. And essentially, the way I looked at it and justified it is, to me, spending the money to have somebody manage my AdWords was a no-brainer, because if I took that dollar amount and divided it out by 4 weeks in a month, right, I was paying like $125 a month to have somebody professionally manage my marketing, right?
So that would be a week if you divided it by 4.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant, a week. If the way I looked at it is, if I divided that monthly fee by 4 weeks, it's $125 a week. So
do you know what keywords are kind of? Can you give some people some idea of what you actually bid it on? Like, what do people? Do you have any idea? Or you just let them run it?
I'll leave that up to Kendra. She's the master. I just let him go, man. Listen, I figure that's a whole nother realm of something that I have
What about
experience about.
Zillow or Realtor.com or any of those sites that funnel in?
No, I did. I figured at the beginning I was just gonna pick one to go with and run with it and focus my energy there. And I know that's not really a great marketing strategy, is to have one lead generation source, but I was brand new, so I just went with the one. And I like the idea too, Frank, of everything I had heard about Zillow and Trulia, that you had to share leads with other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of greedy, where I didn't really want to do that. I mean, I knew I'd be the first one to call, but I still kind of wanted the leads to be mine to kind of work.
How much did you put into pay-per-click a month?
At the beginning, it was I had an $800 budget for pay-per-click.
Which you used from the commissions you were getting from prospecting, which is self-funding.
I did right off the get-go, man. I just used it off a good old-fashioned piece of plastic called American Express.
Okay, so all right, so you're getting leads now, right? So you stopped doing the outbound calls, which was working, which I don't know why. But we'll keep going. Now you're doing buyer leads.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How did that work? How did you convert those into actually people that gave you commissions and selling houses?
Well, I mean, I think the reason I ultimately went with the AdWords and the buyer's leads, man, is that I knew the dynamic and the mindset and the mentality of working a lead, working an online lead, working any lead. It's all the same, man. I mean, these online lead generation systems, Real Geeks, Boomtown, any of those, they're not magic, man. They're really not magic. They're getting people in front of you that were searching for houses. You know, it's really in the follow-up. So I knew that I was going to work leads better than anybody out there. Like I knew the mentality and the strategy, what it took. So I basically just stalked him. I just stalked him, man. I mean, I had a whole process, a system that I followed, which I could share with you if you want to hear it.
I would love to see it.
So 5 minutes. I mean, literally, if I got the lead, 5 minutes max. Before I call them, right? I would usually try to catch them within the first minute, right? Kind of the element of surprise. And catch them, you know, I have a much better, and there's been, studies and whatnot done that calling them in the first 5 minutes, it works. I mean, it absolutely works. So call them in the first 5 minutes. If I don't get a hold of them, I would leave them a voicemail, kind of informative, not anything other than letting them know, I have a script that I follow when I leave them a voicemail.
Leave me a voicemail.
What's up?
Leave me a voicemail right now.
Hey, Frank. This is Tom calling with nextbigmoveorlando.com. And I just wanted to give you a call to follow up. I'm a realtor down in Orlando, Florida, and you recently registered on our website. I just wanted to give you a call and see if you had any questions that I may be able to answer regarding real estate, or if there's anything I could do to help. I also wanted to mention that you can use our website to search every property for sale here in the Orlando area. Our website's updated every day by the Realtor's Computer, the MLS. So please feel free to continue to search houses on our website. And if there's anything I could do to help, please give me a call. My number is da-da-da-da-da-da, or you can always reach me through the website at nextbigmoveorlando.com.
So how many times are you calling me now, and how often are you calling me before you
I'm calling you until I get death threats.
I've heard people call 3 times. So every dial is 3. 1, 2, 3 in a row.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I'm calling, man. I'm calling from my phone, and then 45 minutes later, I'll call from I used to use different number. What I've kind of tooled it down to now is call once, leave a voicemail, send a text message. I always send a standard text message. Again, hey, this is Tom with Next Big Move. You recently registered on our website. Just wanted to see if you had any questions I can answer. I follow that immediately by an email. So, right off the bat, phone call, text message, email. I'll also try to call them from different phone numbers a couple times throughout the day. I did that at the beginning. I've got so much. I got too much now that I don't really have the ability to do that. And then I called day 2, and then on day 2, I have a voicemail and another text message. And then I call on day 3, another voicemail, switch up the voicemail a little bit, another text message. And then I called day 7, day 14, day 21, day 28. And I'll tell you, man, more than anything, calling them
And you
so
still
many.
haven't even talked to him by day 28. You're still trying to get a hold of him.
Oh no, man! But I could tell you a story. I just had one last week. 2 weeks ago, I called these people. I'm 28 days in. I'm leaving voicemails, sending
Text,
emails,
voicemails, calls, different numbers,
across the
nothing
board.
yet.
I heard nothing. I got nothing back. All of a sudden, I get an email from the lead that said, "Hey, Tom, we're so sorry. We've got all your emails. We've got all the property updates. We love it. We've just been too busy. We want to come down to Orlando, and so we're thinking about buying a house. Give us a call." Called them that night. Got them pre-qualified. The next day, they flew down to Orlando that Saturday for the day. I referred them off brought them in the office, referred them off to an agent I'm working with because I like to spend Saturday with my wife and children. And he went out, showed him 6 properties, and put a full price offer on that afternoon. And
How do you manage all that follow-up?
Well, most CRMs. I mean, I know in Real Geeks, it's an easy CRM. It's just a task manager. Follow up. I mean, after I call them, schedule follow up, put them on the next day. It's easy if you have a system that you do every single time, no matter the quality of the lead, or if you get a hold of them, or if you don't. I follow the same system whether they're looking at $70,000 houses or $700,000 houses. I follow the same system. If they give me a bad phone number, I have a system to follow up with bad phone numbers through email. So I systematically follow up with everyone, so it's easy, right? It's kind of bulletproof. It's like if I do the same thing every time. So
when you started, how many leads were you generating, and how many of those leads actually converted to, say, an appointment?
At the beginning, I was getting about 60, 70 leads a month.
Off of about $800 a month to pay-per-click?
Off $800, yeah. I was getting about 60 to 70. First sale, I started September 27th with my website going live. I had my first under contract on October 18th, October 20th, right? Bad phone number. The people gave me a bad phone number.
How did you get that? Did you email them?
No, yeah, about 7 times. They gave me a fax line, and I'm like, man, it was brand new. I didn't have that many leads, so I had the time. I'm like, man, I am gonna get these people. I'm looking them up on Facebook, everywhere. I'm like, so I'm just I sent them in a couple emails. They happened to be in town from New York. They emailed me over the weekend, and we went out that Monday, and they bought a condo cash.
Tom, this is fantastic. Go deeper. Tell me more. There's more to the story about this lead conversion you're doing. Tell me some of the crazy stuff you've done. I mean, how much more do you do?
Well, as far as just the crazy stories.
Well, just what else are you doing for conversion, man? Processes.
I'll tell you what, man. I'm always looking for opportunity. I really, when I talk to people, I try to have a genuine conversation so I can remember them, so I can retain the information. Because listen, if it doesn't matter if you're generating leads online or you've got your sphere of influence or however you're getting your leads or open houses, there's always opportunity out there. You just got to be in tune with it. You got to be looking for it. Another great example. I had a condo, a lead signed up back in December, and I asked him, hey, listen, do you have a house to sell before you buy your next condo? And he's like, yes, I do. Right, that was my first listing that I got. So his condo sold like 28 days, and it was the highest price in that complex since pre-crash. So after we got that offer, we got a cash offer on it. So I went up to the manager at the front and said, hey, listen, we just sold this condo. It sold more for than anything else. I'd love the opportunity, if you hear of anybody else that's going to be selling in here, I'd love the opportunity to see if we can help raise the property values here, market the properties right. And 2 months later, I get a call from this guy that says, hey, Barbara over at Four Seasons gave me your number. The manager, right? So this condo, this guy, his aunt lived there, and her husband died, and he was the only one and got this condo, right? So I went over, saw it. I was going to take the listing, and it was like in bad shape, right? So it was like $70,000 or something. I mean, it was worth like $65,000, $70,000. So rather than just saying, $70,000 listing, it's in bad shape, let's put it on the MLS. I started thinking, I know I've got people in my database, I've got investors that I've talked to that I'm going to try to sell this condo to. So I told the guy, listen, what do you think about me trying to find somebody that will just pay cash for this thing? You won't have to fix it up and do the paint and do the carpet. Are you open to that? He's like, sure. So I went back to the office, got into the database, started calling through people, found somebody in my database that had registered through as a lead. He bought cash. He was an investor. I got him to agree with me that he would relist it with me when he fixed it. He closed. He had the work done in 14 days.
Relisted it with you, and you sold it.
I found another buyer from my database to buy it. So
I got a question here. I got to ask from Lori. So you moved from generating seller leads, like they're doing just listed, just sold calls, and then you go into buyer lead generation. Are you getting sellers from your buyer leads?
Sure, man. I mean,
tell us about that. How many? How do you? Where's it coming from?
Have you ever known anybody that is going to buy that needs to sell too? You know, it's that simple. It's like really, it's like people look at it like, oh, I don't want to work with buyers. Well, buyers are sellers, right? I mean, how many people that are going to buy have something that they need to sell? Yeah. So it's really as easy as asking the question, right? I mean, my qualifying questions are always after I kind of break the ice. So, are you thinking about moving to the area? When are you thinking about moving? Right? What's your timeline? And do you have to sell the property that you live in before you buy your next place?
What's your website URL where someone can maybe go and take a look at your site that's generating these leads?
It's nextbigmoveorlando.com.
Cool. All right, so let's keep going here. So you're crushing the conversion. All right, and we can go a little bit deeper into that. But is that, I got another question I want to answer. Is that alone? Is that all you're doing? Is just database and buyer leads for sellers to do 60 deals? Is that your only lead source through Real Geeks? What about cold calls and door knocking and mailers and all that stuff?
Well, I have it's in the works. It's
in the works, but what about all the deals you've done to date? Where do all those come from?
Everything has. Well, here's where it gets tricky. All except two have come from my lead generation. I had a referral from somebody down the street that had a condo to sell. I had another referral from a past client, which I did get that client through my lead generation. But I tell you, I mean, I also look for a lot of opportunities outside of just selling them that house that they're buying. You know, I've had several opportunities where I've got a few investors that have bought, right?
You got some investor business that's kind of more residual helping you.
Which buy, rehab, and then I list, right? That's part of my agreement. I don't really have any interest working with the investors unless they agree that they're going to list the property with me. So sure. I've created a lot of residual business or ancillary business from leads that have come in, right? I mean, these people know.
Which were investors looking on the site for investment property.
Sure.
And you realize that. That's great.
Sure.
Jeff, question. This is a good one. So you mentioned earlier that you were spending $800 a month on pay-per-click, and I don't know if that's, and you're doing like 40 to 60 leads. So I don't know what the math is. What is that? $13 to $20 per lead? You know.
Was that a question for me?
A question for Jeff. I mean, what should you be paying per lead? Someone did the math on the number of leads and the amount they're paying per pay-per-click. So like what's the cost per lead in his market?
Getting 70 or 80 leads at $800, it's around 10 or a little bit over. It all depends on different markets. And is it competitive, and is it in an area where they're freely giving that information? I was actually talking to Ben Kinney this morning. We were talking about some lead generation and about different prices, this same very subject. And we were both talking about, like, hey, what kind of conversion rate do you want to get on this? Well, we want to shoot for click to sign up anywhere between, or at least 10% or higher. But some marketplaces, maybe in the Bay Area, where they're a little more tech savvy and they're not as free giving their information, well, that conversion rate might be lower because they're just the type that are not going to give information. And then the cost per click may be higher. So every market is different, okay? I know that if you took all the accounts that we're actually managing right now, we're looking at around $12 average lead, but we got some markets where people are going after just specific high-end properties that are multi-million-dollar properties, and it's competitive. So, and then we got other markets, and I'm getting some markets in Hawaii where the average price, I think our average price here in Oahu is, they just said it was like 700,000. It just hit the new high, and I'm getting leads for the Oahu market anywhere from $5 to $7 a lead in some areas. So it varies from market to market. I don't know. So that's a hard one to give. It's a variation.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be a question for the lead manager. Anyways, that was a good answer. It does depend per market.
And it's totally, and what they're focusing after, and what neighborhoods and what areas they want to go after.
Okay. So from a lead conversion standpoint, you mentioned there's not much else you're doing, and we'll get in later what you're going to do. Is there anything else you can share with us on buyer lead conversion? Maybe how you're getting sellers out of it, and what else you're sending? Any other database marketing you're sending out? What else can you share with us?
I mean, I really just keep it simple, very, very simple. I mean, with the amount of times that I call and that I follow up and that I'm making touches, right? Because the reason I call so much and do so many and send so many text messages and emails is because I want to be at the front of this person's mind, right? I want to be the one that they think of, because when it comes to, if you take 100 leads, man, there might be 80 of those people that are never ever gonna. I'm not gonna contact them. I'm not gonna get a hold of them. They're not gonna buy. There might be 10 that they're gonna buy eventually, and there might be 3 or 4 that are ready to buy pretty soon. So I do the follow up that I do to make sure that I don't miss out on anybody. Right? I try to.
Would you ever feel comfortable hiring someone to do those lead conversion calls?
I actually.
You're so good at this. It would probably have to scare you to death to hire someone for maybe hourly to make those calls because you're on so many appointments.
Needless to say, man, I am a little bit of a control freak, just a little bit. But I actually had a guy who worked for me for years in the wine industry that I recruited that started yesterday. And the reason I'm comfortable with him is because he came from the same cloth that I was cut from, making 300 phone calls a day in the wine industry. So I know he can handle.
That's funny. I've heard good results hiring people from collections.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Tom,
Go ahead.
I got a quick question. Let me cut in here. So I know you're doing the 7 days, 14 days, 28 days. Now, are you using any of the other triggers that you're supposed to? Because you did say you're doing everything I said to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm putting you on the spot here. You said, hey, I watched that tape. I'm doing everything Jeff said. And there's triggers that you should be following up with people you haven't had contact in a while that are back active on the website, or when they're adding favorite properties. Are you doing any of that?
Sure. There are a few things that I was doing right from the get-go. There are few things that I've just instituted recently that I am getting great success. I absolutely, I look at, I sort the clients on the Real Geeks platform at least. Every morning, as you know, Jeff, I get an email and a text message that says these are the people who marked favorites on the site yesterday. So these people were actively looking and they found a property that they marked as a favorite. On a daily basis, I call all of those people back. Right? There's if they're marking favorites, if they're active, if they're looking, then I am certainly going to try to get in front of them, right? I'm also, a couple times a week, I'll go through and I'll sort my leads by the ones that were the most recently active, right? So if I find that this person was on the website yesterday and the day before and the day before, and I've never made contact with them, and they've been on the site for months, I'm going to follow up. And, my mentality behind that, and here's where I think a lot of people miss out on because I hear so many people say that internet leads are crap. Oh, I didn't get a hold of them. I hear so many people, and I just laugh because it's like, here's the way I look at it. If somebody registered on my website in January, and I didn't get a hold of them, and I never reached them, and I stalked them, and they were not interested in talking to me, maybe that person is still a year away from buying, right? Maybe they're still a year away from buying. Maybe they're not going to buy till next January. They have no interest in talking to me this January, right? Well, they probably signed up on 5 or 6 other websites the same time they signed up on mine, right? So my whole thought process is, even if I never reach this person, it just happened today. It was when I was training the new guy. I had him call one. Had never reached them. They hadn't been active on the website in probably 5 months. But my thought process is, if they registered in January and they haven't been active in 5 months, it doesn't mean that they're still not planning on buying next January, right? If that was what they were originally going to do. So I continue to still go back and work those leads months later, even if I've never made a contact or they haven't really been active on the website, because just because they haven't been looking at properties on my website doesn't mean that they're not getting any closer to purchasing a property. So yes, I'll call recently active leads. I'll call people that have marked favorites. Just triggers that people. It's more of a warm lead, more of a hot lead.
We got some questions here that we can. I want to get some questions here really quick.
So you are putting a priority on those ones that are adding favorites and coming back active over time and still using it. I hope so.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I just instituted, speaking of Ben Kinney, I don't know if anybody's ever seen Ben Kinney's 10 Days of Pain plan that he does. Basically he says when he got into the industry, he was told that when these people register, you basically have 10 days to reach these people before or somebody else is going to, and they're going to work with whoever they reach. So his 10 Days of Pain is ridiculous, man. It's like phone, and every single day has a different objective on the phone call, and then he sends out different emails every single day, and I
just posted a link to the PDF of the 10 Days of Pain in the chat for anybody.
It's incredible, man. So what I've started doing is on day 3, I've instituted an email. When I make that day 3 phone call, I send him an email that says, hey, what we find is a lot of people that are thinking about buying in the future that register on the website, they're also thinking about selling in the future. We have a free tool for people that are registered on our website, and I put a link to the seller valuation page, right, to try to get these. And started it yesterday and got 4.
So you got 4 people that were already using the website, filled out the seller valuation thing, and then you got the notification that they did that with their property address and everything.
And this is crazy because these are 4 people that registered and had no activity between the day they registered and the time that I sent them that email, and then as soon as I sent them that email, they came back, right? And I've instituted a couple other ones. On day 7, I'm going to just send out a simple email that says, "How are we doing? Listen, our goal is to send you the properties that match your search criteria and show you the perfect properties. How are we doing with the properties we're sending you? Would you like us to make any changes?" Right? And then, so I'm instituting a few different emails in there to try to get triggers for the people that aren't responding.
You want them to raise their hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, we got a ton of questions. I want to get to a couple questions, okay? We'll make these really quick. Lisa asks, do you leave a voicemail every time you don't reach them by the phone?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Every time. The voicemail every time. How long is your voicemail takes about an extra minute to leave, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And it's like the guys around me, I'm like they can hear me all the way across the office. I'm sure they get tired of hearing that same voicemail. And the way I look at it, man, is if I leave it 100 times and it works twice, then it worked. I had a guy call me. I called him like it was like the 4th voicemail that I left him. And this guy calls me back while I'm leaving him a voicemail. And he goes, "Listen, man, I was in business for many, 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 many years, and I respect how ballsy you are." Sorry, I hope I didn't say that. He's like, "Man, you just don't quit." And he goes, "I had to call you back because what made me successful all those years, the tenacity, and if I wouldn't have left him all those voicemails, I guarantee that this guy wouldn't have called me." And I've got his proof of funds. He's got $1 million that he's got in an account that he wants to use for investment properties because it's burning a hole. I was sitting last week and I told a guy that's working with me, "Listen, I need to go find a property for Mark." This the guy. He's itching to buy one. I find a property for him. We go out the next morning and he puts an offer on it. So, but if I wouldn't have left all those voicemails, he would have never called me back.
All right, Stacy asked, and Stacy, I want to clarify this. the question was it $7 cost per click or $7 per lead? And what we were discussing earlier was $7 per lead. So it might have taken a lot of clicks at $1 or $2 a click to get someone to finally opt in. That was a lead, right, Jeff?
Yes, yes. I mean, a lead is a lead. A conversion to us is somebody signing up. We don't.
Yeah, but that's not per click.
We don't care about clicks. We look at a cost per sign up. I mean, that's what matters.
Yeah, cost per lead, cost per registration.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how many times does someone have to click for the dollar to get someone to?
Yeah, whatever it takes. It adds up, and they finally sign up, and then that's what determines your cost per lead.
What's your current budget, Tom, for your pay-per-click right now? What are you spending?
About, I think I'm at $1,800 or $1,900.
So you're at $1,800 or $1,900 a month. What's that generating you for leads every month, roughly?
115, 120, anywhere from 100 to 120.
More than that.
But it is because I toyed around with some different things. Kendra and I have been talking. You know, when I first started, I just wanted every and all leads. And what I've been doing with Kendra, who does a fabulous job at managing my campaign, is really trying to dial down to get more high dollar leads. To really start trying to drive people to the neighborhoods where I know that there's higher, average prices.
Well, speaking of that, that's another question. Let's talk about maybe this community pages on your website. Mm-hmm. Did you build out any content for organic for specific communities on your site at all?
Sure. And anybody that's got the website. I mean, when I started with Real Geeks, obviously there was the templates, and I had all the time in the world. I wasn't doing anything. I didn't have any clients, so I spent a month building out the content, driving around town, taking the pictures.
Let's go a little deeper into this. You spent a whole month building content on your website. Nobody does that.
I told you I'm a control freak, didn't I? Well, here was the plan, man. My plan was, I will invest all the time and energy I need to now, because if this works the way that I know that I'm going to have to make it work, or my wife is going to kill me for spending all this money, then I'm not going to have enough time to go back and add more content and build more
What
content.
did you grab? What content? I mean, how many community pages do you have on your site?
I'd say, I have area pages as far as cities, probably 18, but then I also, built out some subdivision pages, right, like within Winter Park, which is a really
and you went and you created those.
Mm-hmm. And I am the most non-tech savvy person in the world. I will tell you that too. I don't know how I got through that time. Lots of drinking. So
you went out, you just took pictures of the area, and you wrote up what you loved about it and why someone should live there?
Oh yeah, it was crazy. It was a good time. My wife was like, "You are a nut job." I'm like, "I know, but I'm gonna make it the way I want it to be."
All right, let's talk about your daily schedule. So it sounds to me like
let's get that
very, very, very specific. You have a very, very, very specific follow-up plan, which means there's certain calls that have to meet every single day.
Sure.
What do you do for that?
Sure.
How do you stick to your follow-up plan personally?
Well, the intention, right, is prospecting has to be done. It's got to be done every single day. I stress if I'm not prospecting. I absolutely, I can't sleep. I can't go home. Like Jeff said, get control back of my life earlier, and it's like, listen, I will be here at 8. I have still probably 10 phone calls to make after we get off here, so we got to hurry up.
What is it, like 8 p.m. there?
Oh man, listen. Yeah, it is, but I can't leave. Like, to me, I can't not do the prospecting. So ideally first thing in the morning, because if I do it first thing in the morning, then nothing else can get in the way, man. I mean, if I do it very first thing, then I don't have any excuses why I'm not doing it.
But isn't your contact rate lower in the morning? Wouldn't you want to wait till the evening?
I don't pay attention to all that. If you call enough, you'll make contacts. I think that's way too, I'm a control freak, but I'm also not overly analytic. And the way I look at it is, if I'm calling enough, then I'm going to get people on the phone, right? They're going to answer. So, and sometimes I'll do over lunch hour, and I'll switch it up a little bit. But okay. I do make sure to do, 2 to 3 hours in a day.
Do you have a contact goal?
Yes and no. I I should have a contact goal, Frank, but I also know that during that 3 hours, I'm not wasting any time, and I'm going to make the phone calls, so the contacts come. You know, I mean, I think the mentality behind I was just talking to the guy that I am working with now, that it doesn't matter if you prospect for 3 hours, and if you prospect for 3 hours and you don't make use of that 3 hours by actually getting a hold of people and having conversations and booking appointments, then anybody could sit in front of a computer for 3 hours and make 10 phone calls, right? You have to have a goal, you know, what you're working towards. So I think for most people, having a contact goal is the way to do it, right? So to make sure that you're accountable. Me, it's just I'm just going to call all 3 hours, the whole 3 hours.
And at some point, to go further on Derek's question, this is actually a question Derek asked. He said at some point you probably have to hire a buyer's agent.
Yes.
When does that come? When do you decide to make that happen?
He's kind of got one.
I kind of have one. Here's what I've done to this point. To this point, I have basically taken the lead from the time that they sign up, and I have literally gotten them all the way through the process. I make the first contact. I do the follow-up phone call. I nurture them all the way to the point where I'm putting them in contact with a lender, and then getting that pre-approval, and then the next step is having them come in the office for a consultation, right? And what I've been doing with the agent that I've been working with is handing them off at that point, right? Like, these guys are ready to buy, and you know, setting it up in the consultation, giving it to him, and passing it on.
Hey,
yes.
Can I jump in there? Are you handing them off as like, oh, here's my buyer's agent going to help there, or are you doing a little more smart and being more business savvy and saying, hey, I want my partner's going to help you, something more like that?
That's a trick I picked up from my good friend Jeff Manson.
So you are doing that.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you, we've actually had feedback on that from clients that have said, man, the way you guys are doing things is awesome. You know, bring them in and sit them down and let them know ahead of time that my business partner, who specializes in whatever it is they're looking for, is what he specializes in, right? Here's my business partner who specializes in this area, right? But you know, when we bring him in, you know, we just explain to him that each one of us has a different role, and you know, Jeff, who his name happens to be Jeff. Jeff is, you know, his specialty is working with buyers. He's out in the market every single day. He's out there, you know. So when we hand off, it's very smooth, and they feel like they're getting the best of both worlds.
Hey.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, that being said, I am now, Frank, that's what I've been doing, but I'm at the point where, you know, I'm looking at next year and wanting to do 100 transactions, and I can't personally, I don't think the most effective way to do that is to have me micromanaging every one of these clients coming in and also trying to grow the business to where I can do 100 transactions. I've got to have the faith in somebody else to do that. So yes, that's what I'm doing with the new agent I'm bringing in.
All right, perfect. And I think, because we're running out of time, we're trying to keep this around an hour, and we may go a little bit over. I don't want to mess up your prospecting time, Tom, because I know that is important. But like I said at the beginning, that I wanted to talk to you, and I got a thing of notes here. I've got it all typed out, by the way, that I wanted to cover, because I know you're working hard and you're killing it, but there's probably a lot of chaos, and like you said, you're probably not getting home till 10 o'clock at night sometimes. So, you know, I've got some notes of things that I wanted to share with you, because I've been 21 years in the business, and I've been where you're at, and I've built a team. So I wanted to share this with you. So hopefully I know you're smart. You're going to take some of this, you're going to run with it, you're not going to question it. But, you know, I've got, you know, written down here, you know, things that Tom must do to grow his business and still have a life. Okay? And the three main topics that I have written down, one of them is you have to have systems in place to delegate non-income producing activities. So you got to do that. And the first thing you really need to do, I don't think you've got somebody running your escrows. I think you're doing the escrows, and you're running around ragged, and you're probably not giving the best customer service to your clients that they deserve, because you are doing all this, right? So the first thing on my list is you need a licensed escrow coordinator to provide over-the-top service, and you can introduce them as your team specialist just like you do with the buyer. So that would be the number one thing that I think you really need to do to get control of your life, so you can spend more time in the income-producing things.
So
And then
I could check that one off. My wife passed her exam last Thursday, first time, and that's what she's joining in. And
congratulations.
and her goal is we're really going to focus on building those systems out and being on the top of our game. So absolutely, check.
All right,
I
cool.
listened to you last time.
I'm going to check that off my list for you too. And then the next thing is that same person. Eventually, as you grow, you might have a different person, but that same person, your wife, can do anytime you have a purchase agreement or one of your buyer's agents has a purchase agreement. There's got to be someone in the office that they can call and say, hey, I just showed property to Jim Smith, and we're writing it up. Here's the address. Here are the terms. We're writing it up at this price, this escrow, so they can then produce, do the paperwork. Same thing when you book a listing appointment. Mm-hmm. I've always had an assistant to do all this stuff because I knew the most important thing for me is to be doing the income producing stuff and working directly with the client on certain things. So, doing paperwork and preparing listing documents to go on a listing appointment, you should not be wasting your time, okay? So
we're going to do that, but I'm definitely not going to call my wife an assistant if I want to live through that one.
No, I know.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Office manager. I always call mine office manager because they were, they're also my partner in the business, okay? Yeah. But you know what I'm saying here.
I know.
So don't call your wife the assistant. She's actually a partner. And then you need someone that does, when you do get the listings, to do all the marketing and listing flyers and stuff. You shouldn't be wasting your time doing any of that garbage. And here's one that's gonna stir the bee's nest for a lot of agents that are watching. You shouldn't be going to any. You should not be going to any closings. Mm-hmm. So you should not be going to the closing. You have an escrow officer or attorneys or whatever you guys do there, and they're professionals. They do their job, and the lender is going to go there and do that. All right. I never went to any of my actually I went to 2 of my closings, and I've been in business 21 years, and I routinely, just me and an assistant, do 75, 85 listings a year sold. And I went to 2 closings. You know what? I sat there and did nothing while the other people did their thing. So, and it takes a half hour to drive or 20 minutes to drive. You sit there for an hour and then back. You wasted 2 hours of your day. So you shouldn't be doing that. As long as you set your client up that, here's what's going to be. Your escrow coordinator is going to let them the net sheet and explain that. You don't need to be there. It's a waste of time, okay? Mm-hmm. And I know people go, oh, my God, I have to be there and hold my client's hand. Well, you really don't. You're just, you're not. Anyway, enough of that. Don't go to any open houses. Okay. Don't do any open houses because those, I know I'm going to stir the bee's nest too.
I love this. Tell us how you really feel about this.
No, I'm passionate about this, okay?
That's good. That's great.
Hey, no, I'm passionate about this because I want to help my friend Tom and other agents out here. Now, open houses are for some people that are, for an agent that's passive, they want to sit in an open house and let people come to them and hopefully pick a buyer up that's not working with someone. No, you know what? There are a handful of agents that are really good, and that's all they need to do and work their set of influence. But a guy like you that's trying to build a business, if you follow these things I'm telling you, you're going to have the weekend off. You're not going to, you should be with your family on Sunday, not sitting at a freaking open house hoping a buyer's going to come through and work with you, okay?
Sure.
So that, and then you need to get a buyer's agent, which you said you did, and you need to go after more listings. And I know you're getting listings from the leads coming online, and I tell people all the time, and I told Tom this, or he listened to it in my training thing, and when I called him, I said, hey, Tom, man, you got these listings. How'd you get the listings? He's all, well, you told me to ask the questions. I mean, it is that simple. Most sellers start online looking at areas they like. I do it. My wife, I do it. My wife too. We look at different areas. Sometimes we're like, God, do we want to be in Hawaii? The tax rate's 11% for the state, and some other taxes. So we're like, eh. Anyway. So the other note I have is you need to spend most of your time, if not all of your time, in income-producing activities. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I think you got this, but I'm going to go over the list, okay, to help other agents. You need to do prospecting and following up on all your online leads, with a set time, and follow that. And here's the deal. You have to treat it like an appointment. Like you said, you do it first thing in the morning. You got to treat it like an appointment. I know when you were new, you called that first call and you got that thing and you were over there, boom! I've got discipline right up here. Discipline equals freedom. If you're disciplined to do the things that you're supposed to, when you do, you're going to have the freedom in your life to have the weekends off and do everything. And that is when you're prospecting and someone says, yeah, I want to list my house, that you finish your prospecting and say, by the way, I can meet with you at 10, 12, 3, 4. They're not going anywhere. I can almost bet somebody else is not calling them unless you're calling expireds. And it's not a bad thing to come in after somebody else too, unless they're good. Anyway, so I got that. And then here's one. You need to start calling expired listings. There may not be very many expired listings, but those are people, you said, I chose online because I wanted to get in front of more people that had some sort of interest. Well, somebody that had their home on the market and it expired, they had an interest in selling their home. Now, you're going to call. You're great, though. You're going to pick up some scripts and objectives. You're going to call, and you're going to appointment. Some markets, they're improving, and some agents might be going, but Jeff, there's no expireds. You don't know my market. There's no inventory. I'm going to give you guys, this is the biggest gold nugget of the day. Everybody get ready to write this down. Pull down the last 3 or 4 years of expireds. Have somebody research the phone. There's services, Volcom 7, Leads Today, other services that would probably do that for a fee and research all the information. Pull down the last 3 or 4 years because you're in a market that's improving. Anything that's withdrawn or expired in the last 3 or 4 years, start calling them and give them the good news. The good news is the market's improved. They can get more money, and if they haven't sold your home, you need to be getting an appointment with them. I did that in 2 markets. I moved from Orange County to Santa Cruz. The market was coming out of a bad market going in. That's all I did. I did 55 transactions my first year in a new market because I pulled the last 3 or 4 years, and I would prospect and do follow-up 4 hours a day. The rest of the time I was going out on appointments and stuff, and I didn't work any Saturdays and Sundays, folks, okay? And I sold 55 transactions. I did the same thing here in Hawaii. And I couldn't even pronounce the street names when I first got here. But I knew how to get a listing appointment, okay? So you got to do that if you want to build your seller's business, okay? And the buyer's agent going out and working all these other online leads, and you collecting it, it's going to free you up to do the time. And all these other things I went over, it's going to free you up time to do what you do best, okay?
Jeff, we got about 4 minutes left. Can I get some questions?
Yeah, let me just finish my list. Okay, and then if we have to go over, can we go over 5-10 minutes?
Sure.
All right. FSBOs, you should be doing those, and you need to start leveraging your past successes and start working these past clients. It sounds like you're already doing that. And then you need to be putting some time away on planning and working on systems and perfecting systems every day, because that is an income-producing activity, because you're going to set those up. The next thing I said is you got to have a business plan with goals and stuff, but we're running out of time, so we can go over that another time. And then you need to have someone or something in place to hold you accountable, whether it's a coach, your wife, or whatever. And the next thing is here's what I want to do. Tom, if it's okay with you.
Yeah.
We want to hit 60. Your goal is 60, but can we up it a little bit?
Yeah.
By the end of the year?
Sure.
Tom, by the way, these are all written down for you in case you didn't grab all the recommendations.
Okay, all right. Hey,
I was gonna say I've got 5 minutes. I got leads signing up that I have to call back.
I know. Okay, okay.
Well, which leads me. Let me get to some of these questions. I got to answer.
All right.
I'm just joking.
We want to do a follow-up in 6 to 8 months to find out where you're at, how it's been going, and stuff like that. Are you up with that?
Absolutely, 100%.
All right, and as you know, I'm always free for phone call.
And
you got any questions?
Jeff will call you.
I'm not afraid to make them.
All right, good. Hit those questions.
All right, we're going to give you 30 seconds for each answer, okay? We're going to drill down the list.
Okay.
What time of day do most of your leads come in?
All over the board. It seems like early to mid-afternoon tends to be. I mean, there was one day where I got 13 leads.
Which means you need to be available to call them.
Oh, sure, 100%.
You're just responding like all day long, 24 hours a day to your leads, like 3 in the morning. Have you called a lead at 3 in the morning?
No. The latest, I've texted a lead at about midnight. But funny thing, Easter didn't want to call a lady on Easter that signed up at 9:59 at night. So I texted her. I see that you just registered. I'll follow up with you first thing tomorrow morning. Followed up at 11 o'clock the next morning. Met her at a house. Write a full price offer for $300,000 house in the backyard on the picnic table the day after Thanksgiving because I texted her that night.
Woo!
All right, let's do the next question. So since you could potentially define a demographic more specifically on Facebook, all right? Do we have any experiences, Jeff, of running ads on Facebook for seller and buyer lead generation?
The seller stuff.
Better cost per lead than say AdWords or pay-per-click.
The cost per lead. Okay, here's the deal. We haven't been doing it on the buyer stuff, but I'm going to start doing some testing for the buyers. Like, hey, search all homes in this MLS or in this neighborhood. I'm going to start doing some tests. We've got clients that have been doing it to the seller landing page. And I don't know what the cost per lead is. It's cheaper than doing it through the Google PPC, and they're getting leads. The good thing is that a good seller tool, if they don't sign up and give your information, a good seller tool will at least capture that address and send them into something so now you can research it. So they didn't give your information, but at least if they go to the website, they punch in their address and go to verify to get their thing. Now you've got their address. You can research them and start following up with them. And a tiger like Tom will crush it doing that. So whereas if you're sending traffic to a search and they just do a search and they're asked to sign up, you're going to get a certain conversion and sign up rate, but you don't have any other information. You can't capture anything unless they give it to you. The seller tool is cool because now you can capture an address.
And Robert, I went and updated the chat here. I did a team every Friday. I get our team at Viral Marketing together for a training. And I posted the training we did for an hour specifically on the seller lead generation ad on Facebook. So if you're interested in how you can target those ads, you can actually run a list of likely sellers as an audience on Facebook, which is crazy. Not very many people know about it. So if you want to go watch that training, it's available to you. So let's keep going. Thomas, I saved this one. Have you been diagnosed with ADHD?
Oh, and ADD, HD, TV, I got it all. Are you kidding me? You can't tell.
I got it all too.
And there will be a recording of this. Where do you guys give me some resources to get contact information for expireds? What are some of the providers out there you guys recommend?
Well, Tom hasn't been doing it, but you got Leads Today, Volcom 7, and what's the other one? Red X. Red X. So those are probably the three big ones.
Okay. What about speaking Spanish in Orlando? Do you deal with foreign language?
I am actually, if there's anybody in Orlando that is a Spanish-speaking agent that's a beast on the phone, I need one.
How do you handle that? How do you handle when someone doesn't speak English?
I'm actually in the midst of trying to handle it now. What I've done at that point, I mean, I would say that I've got a good percentage, probably 15% of my leads, and what I've done to this point is just referred it out. But if I'm just referring a Spanish-speaking lead to this person and then that person, I want to be confident that that person's following. So
do you do open houses?
I actually conduct them, but Jeff, I followed your lead long ago. I don't do them myself.
Okay. Right. So you have other agents doing them.
I do.
Okay.
All right. You better not be doing them.
I'm not. I manage.
Kevin asks, where do you want to send pay-per-click traffic for optimal conversion with Real Geeks? Wouldn't you just send it right to the homepage, or maybe you send it to a specific community page?
This would be any site, whether it's a Boomtown site, Real Geeks site, because this isn't a Real Geeks commercial. He happens to be a client and a customer and uses Real Geeks, but you can do the same thing to any of your websites, I think, but it depends. What we do is we'll drive them to area-specific pages. So if it's Winter Park? Winter Park. So we got a Winter Park thing, and then when they land on that, the search is already chosen for Winter Park. So all the person has to do is hit search or change the pricing. But we also test and drive it as if they already did that. So like on the results. And then we test that on every ad we're doing, because one may convert better landing them on the area-specific page, or one may convert better if you land them on the results page. So there is no definite, but it's testing, right? And we actually have done a webinar on teaches you how to set up things properly in Google PPC or the AdWords. I'm sorry, I'm fading here.
Thomas, Carlos Garcia in Orlando would like to work with you. He speaks Spanish.
Okay, tell him to call me.
Nice.
Let's get to a few more. Jeff, have you ever played around with retargeting for leads, retargeting leads that come back? By the way, just so you know, at Viral, we have used adroll.com, and it is awesome. Basically, anyone who came to our website forever, we followed them around forever online. It only costs like $60 for the month. And like everyone was emailing me and taking screenshots, like stop stalking me, just because they're interested in it. What are your thoughts on retargeting?
I don't have a whole lot of thoughts. I got to test more.
Yeah.
So
if anyone's interested in it, I think it's actually a really cool thing. The concept is someone goes to your website and it installs a cookie on your computer, then the ads follow you around everywhere, right?
Yeah. I see them everywhere.
You want to hire a third-party provider for that? I like adroll.com. So we might do a training on that here at Viral.
Yeah.
Hiring buyer's agents, where do you find them? Ken Peterson wants to know. And what's the contract? What's the arrangement of your buyer's agent?
Well, I mean, what I've done to this point is really because the agent I was working that I was just handing, kind of nurturing the business through and handing it off. It's not. I mean, I was looking for something more than that. I'm looking for somebody. So at this point, I've actually gone into my past, people that I've worked with in the wine industry.
Your personal connections.
Yes, because here's the thing. It's not necessarily just about being able to sell real estate. It's about being able to work leads and work a system and have that drive. So I've kind of gone back to the people I was comfortable with, familiar with, that I knew that that would have that tenacity and that gumption to work the leads. So that's what I've done thus far.
And we'll get one more. This was one of the original. Donna, I'm going to get to your question. Hope you're still here. Sorry about this. But her question was a little more complex. This is the last question here. I understand your market in Florida. There are a lot of condos, townhouses, and gated communities in Florida. She's from Long Island, and it's completely different out there. Are there, there aren't a lot of complexes. So how can she produce more? This is why I laid this one for last. I think your answer is just to call everybody. I think the question is what she's asking is that it's easy to call around a condo or a townhouse or a community apparently, but if they don't have those in.
Sure, but I don't do any calling around condos or town. I mean, I sell them because I get people registering that want them. But when I'm doing call arounds, I'm picking the neighborhoods that I want to target. Right? I'm going to that Moho tool, and I can get down to the neighborhood level and go from street to street to street. So you can do that in any market, right? I mean, you can find any market and call around.
Yeah, I would say Donna too is look into the price of some type of buyer lead gen program like Tom did here. All right, so that'll be the last question. Everyone, thank you so much for attending. KeepingItReal.com, landing page we set up at the very bottom. You'll see the replays of all the events. On the right-hand side, you're going to see a little email opt-in. Put your email in because we don't want to spam anybody. We want to honor opt-outs and all that stuff. So just you put your email in, it tags you as you're actually going to make sure you get the emails when we have the notifications.
And one last thing. So next hangout is when is the date? I think. You know what the date is, Frank? The next one.
Date? Hang on, I'll get it. Hang on. I'll find the date.
All right. He's
31st.
Okay, so 31st.
July 31st at 4 p.m. Pacific.
Okay, and the next one we're going to have Bill Jenkins. And Bill Jenkins is a Keller Williams agent. Great agent in Las Vegas. Yeah, in Las Vegas. And he's also been a Mike Ferry coach, and he's currently a Tom Ferry coach. And I saw him at Icon 14 in Arizona, and he told me basically, hey, Jeff, my ISA, as I've trained my ISA to be making these calls, I haven't even had time to even prospect myself.
This is going to be good.
I haven't even had time to go on or prospect myself because they've been booking me so many appointments. And we all know.
He hired somebody to make the calls for him to book the appointments.
He trained them, yes. Hired and trained them.
And ISA stands for an inside sales assistant in the industry.
Or associate or whatever. I guess that's what it stands for. Mm-hmm. I'm still trying to figure out ISA, but that's what everyone's calling people like that, ISA. But anyway, so that's going to be exciting next week, and so we'll hit on that and just whatever other experiences, because he is a coach as well. So we look forward to it, and until next time, man, aloha.
Yeah, make sure to follow us. Put your email in it, Just Keeping It Real. Follow us on the Facebook page, and we'll have that all event set up here shortly. You'll get an email notification, or you'll see it on the social media profiles. But Tom, Jeff, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, man.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.